My name is Helene Marshall, and I'm here to talk to you about Sofla, the synchronous online flipped learning approach. And this video is being made in case there are technical difficulties at the actual Tesl NL conference. So here we go. All right. This is simply a slide with a description of Sofla and a short bio of me, and that gives you an idea of this particular session. Give you a chance to read it. Now, I always have a mantra, same mantra that I use for every session. So it's create fertile spaces. And I use that to talk about the fact that our job, I believe, is to create fertile spaces for learning, regardless of how we do that, whether it's online, in person, blended, hybrid, remote, distance, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we still want to create fertile spaces, and many of you know how to do that in your normal days, but these days we have to change up what we do, but we still want to do that, creating a fertile spaces for learning. And I talk about it with the 4 E's. This actually is part of a different presentation, but I give you the 4 E's: equity, enrichment, engagement, and empowerment, in that order. And we can talk more about that at another time. But this is the mantra. The next thing I'd like to quickly go through is, I know it's difficult to make this shift. And this might help you if you think about the fact that, going back to Darwin, the strongest of the species is not the one that survives, but the one that's responsive to change. And you can take that in any context. It works. And here are the 4 considerations that we need in order to be able to have the courage to make the changes we need to make. First of all, you're not starting from scratch. There are equivalencies, and you will see them as I go through the model. Secondly, there will be limitations. You need to accept that there are things that you won't be able to do that you used to be able to do in your teaching. But on the other hand, there are some advantages, and you'll notice those as we go through the model. And finally, there are actually some innovations, things that we can do for the first time that we couldn't even do in the way that we were teaching before. So, shall we go? Now, Sofla is a combination of online learning and flipped learning, and I put them together to make a recipe for effective instruction. And so you may not be familiar with flipped learning. I know you know online learning, but flipped learning, if you want to learn more about it, go to flippedlearning.org. You can click definition/definition to get this material, which includes a checklist of items. But basically what flipped learning does is that it reverses the normal course of instruction, where the delivery of content is done in class and then exercises and applications are done out of class. It's actually the opposite, but it's not that simple. There's a lot more to it. But in any case, if you have that in your head as we go through, in case you're new to it, that will help you manage this presentation. Okay, the other thing I'd like to kick off this with is 4 questions to keep in mind as we go through. One is, what are we going to move out of class? What are we going to put in class, and why? And for the out of class work, how do we maximize the 2 things we need, comprehension and retention, because we're counting on that material that they're going to bring knowledge of when they come to us in class. And then in terms of in class, we want to make sure that we're maximizing interaction and differentiation, because those are 2 great things that we can do when we're with our students. And remember, with means synchronous in this case, online synchronous. And then the last is, in everything we do, out of class and in class, we're educators, we need to build in accountability and feedback every step of the way. It's perilous not to, because everything kind of falls apart if the students don't get the sense that they're accountable and that they're getting feedback. Okay, are you ready for Sofla? Okay, 8 steps. Here we go. The 8 steps: pre-work, sign-in activity, whole group application, breakouts, share out, preview and discovery, assignment instructions, and reflection. It's a list, but it's also a cycle. And so there is the cycle of Sofla. We're going to go really, really quickly through the cycle of Sofla. You'll notice the pre-work is in a different color. That's because it's the linchpin of the whole system, and everything falls apart if the pre-work is not properly designed and motivating and engaging, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so here we go. I'm basically going to take you through these 8 steps, again, very quickly. All right, pre-work. It is explicit instruction that's provided synchronously. It has to have 3 characteristics: structured, you structure it; interactive, yeah, it has to be interactive even though they're not with you, you'll see; and multimodal, right? Because that's what we do today. All right, what you're going to do is you're going to have targeted embedding questions and activities mixed in with whatever you're giving them, whether it's a video or a reading, or it could be anything, but it's got to have that embedded. And then what you do is you download the data from your students so that you can plan instruction based on their level of understanding, who needed what, who got what the whole class got, what nobody got. That's what you do. All right, now for English, for ESL, EFL, we have our own way that we flip, different from other fields. You'll read a lot about this in other fields. Very quickly, we can flip language, authentic examples, explanation of concepts and structures. We can flip low-level skills. In Bloom's taxonomy, the low-level skills go out of class, the higher-level skills we do in class, if you want to think about Bloom that way. So here are some things we can do: practice exercises, learning strategies, and listening passages. Peer work can be done out of class. Projects, peer instruction can be prepared. Online interaction can take place, right? They can interact with each other without you as an intermediary. Peer work. And absolutely get that teacher talk out of there. So if you have course procedures and assignment instructions, it's better to do it out of class anyway. They can get it when they feel like they really want to take it in. They can pause it, or they can look over it, see you talking about it, and it doesn't go by real fast in class. So it's actually an advantage. Remember, we talked about the 4 things to look for. Okay, so I use PlayPosit. You can use it. It's a wonderful tool for a video with embedded interactions and questions. There's a free version and a paid version, like everything else. There's also Edpuzzle, and there may be other tools developing over time, but that's the one I use. And I also use Perusal. Perusal is for readings. It also has video, but it won't let you do what PlayPosit does. Okay, so I use this for readings. I upload documents and the textbook. The students get the textbook and they pay for the ebook, and we're all reading the same copy of the book and commenting. It's a wonderful shared reading with discussion and commentary on the right and the text on the left. It's excellent. And of course, you do get that accountability and feedback piece also. All right, then they come and they do the sign-in. So the sign-in activity is usually based on the pre-work, but not always. There's the affective domain. So for example, let's say they watched a video of Steven Pinker. They don't always watch me. I ask them what puzzled them, surprised them, inspired them. They can't answer that if they didn't watch it. Also, I might take some reading that they've done and extend it, ask them to apply it. Can teachers help? They've read about the deficit view and social justice now. Can teachers help? I guess you can tell I teach second language acquisition and multicultural perspectives in education. Okay, then COVID. I mean, it's a fact, it's a reality. So a sign-in could deal with that. Also, I'm a teacher educator. My students are teachers. I asked them what their plans were for fall. Okay. All right. So the sign-in is up to you. What they do is they do it on a whiteboard and they put their name. That's attendance. That's getting there on time, being alert, participating, mandatory. Everybody participates. That's the sign-in. The next is the whole group application. This is the dangerous step because with the whole group application, you have to be really careful because you're guiding it, not to lecture, not to give the delivery of the content, okay? You're not doing that. What you're doing is you're clarifying based on the pre-work what some of them need to learn and hear. You go over it again, or if they were clear on everything, you apply the concepts, okay? You take them and practice them or work with them in ways that deepen their learning if they did retain and understand the gist of the lesson. And you can construct and design that any way you want. I use sometimes Google Docs, and we construct that together. They can speak, they can use the chat, whatever it is that you want to do for the whole group. Then we send them to breakouts. Breakouts are their favorite. They love to go to separate groups. You can group them any way you want. Your teachers, you know about Jigsaw, which would be every group does something different to get it to be an expert, and then they come back and share. Or they could all do the same thing, and then they'll compare and contrast their results. You have to make them accountable. They have to know that you're going to bop around from room to room, and they have to produce a whiteboard, and they have to all participate. And when they come back out, you'll see that's the next stage of the model. In case you want to have same groups every time, sometimes people do writing groups or reading groups, you can do it that way. Or you can do mixing it up depending on the topic. Sometimes for certain breakout activities, I want certain groups and other groups, and you can always do breakout groups no matter what platform you're using for your synchronous sessions. I'm sure you all have your favorite. Okay, after the breakout, they do the share out. So they all come back together to the main room, and now is when they're going to share what they did in the breakout. There's your accountability. And here is the feedback. The feedback, I use Shaq from my colleague Khalid Fethi, and it's share, help, ask, comment. They really like that because it gives them some structure to their feedback. So you don't just say, everybody, feedback, oh, it was great, you did a great job, or they give picky little things. Okay, this gives them an idea. Those are the options. They can share something that relates to what the group is presenting. They can help the group. Maybe they have a suggestion, or they can ask a question or give a comment. So that's the model, and they really enjoy that. So that's the share out. Next, this is perhaps the most important step besides the pre-work, all right? This gets them to do the pre-work. Everybody says about flipping, they don't do the pre-work, I give up. Don't give up, but this is your secret. This is where you equip them and motivate them to do the pre-work. You give them a little peek inside what they're going to see on the pre-work. Show them a few minutes of your video or read a few sections of the reading with them and ask them questions. Get them to realize, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to learn. Maybe you pre-teach one concept, pre-teach a couple of vocabulary words. Also, you can ask them the kind of question that you know they can't quite answer yet, and then they're motivated to find out the answer. This is also a good way to test their prior knowledge, so you can tweak the pre-work if you do need to do that. And they have a kind of a preview of what's going to happen, and they're already beginning to discover, but you're not teaching it, okay? You're getting a peek. All right, that's step 6. Step 7 is very straightforward. It's simply the assignment. So you decide what it is you're going to give them to do, which is going to be the pre-work, right? But you might have other things they have to do. It's your course. Maybe they have to study for a test, or they have to post their work to a wiki, or whatever. You have other things that you give them. The important thing is that you give it to them 3 ways. Redundancy is key for the accountability piece. So you give it to them orally and in writing when you see them synchronously. You also put it on your platform so they can go and find it there. And you also send it out in an announcement. And I always do two for each class. I do an announcement right away after one class, and then a reminder right before the next time I see them, just to remind them. And then the last is reflection. They don't leave the synchronous session without their reflection. And they have to put their name, just like the sign-in activity. So the reflection is a board where they have to say, they can't just say, great class, learned a lot, I'll erase it. Okay, they know they have to say something they learned, something they're going to take away, but I don't care what they put. I want to know what resonated with them. And they look at each other's and everything, and it's interesting to see, and then they can leave. I record the synchronous session. I post the recording. I post all the boards that we produce. The sign-in activity is posted, the reflection is posted, and any boards that are produced in the breakout rooms or in the whole class activity, they're all posted up to the platform. Everything is transparent in the Sofla model. And that is Sofla. If you want to follow up, you can come into Perusal where I have a Sofla course running. Free account for you, free course for you. Just join us. It's Marshall-HMWNU. And Perusal, you go in there, you make an account, it'll say join class. Make a student account because I'm the instructor. I hope to see you there. And you can always email me, my name, helene.marshall@liu.edu. I hope you enjoyed Sofla.